All right, we're live.
All right, awesome. Okay, well, welcome. Tonight, Clean Beauty Secrets. Usually one of the more popular topics, at least for women. I try to encourage men to join, but they don't think their shaving creams and all their aftershaves and deodorants and all things are a problem. I want to start, because we are live, I want to start with my story tonight because I think it's important for people to understand who I am and where I come from and how I got to be here, okay? I spent 20 years as a respiratory therapist. I did that right here in a local hospital. I became a respiratory therapist because I had asthma and allergies as a kid and a young adult. And so I knew very well what it was like to not be able to breathe well. And so I decided that was the journey I was going to set out on, and I did that, and I worked for 20 years in the hospital. After about 10 years, though, I started to become more aware or realize that that system was very broken. Meaning the patients that I was taking care of in the hospital, they weren't getting well. They would get tuned up by us and then go home, but then they'd come back in the same shape, if not worse. So their Ziploc bag full of pharmaceuticals went from a quart-sized bag to a gallon-sized bag over a span of a few years. They started with lung disease, and then they have heart disease, and then next thing you know, they're diabetic, and then the next thing you know, their kidneys aren't working well anymore, and they might end up on dialysis. And then the next thing you know, you're putting them on life support, and then taking them off terminally and hugging their families and walking away. And so I started thinking at that time, what do I do differently to not end up like these people that I'm taking care of? And so I started to dabble. I started to dabble in natural health, and I learned a lot. Didn't know how to put all of it together, didn't know what my path was going to be, but I knew I did not want to do that for the rest of my professional career. And so fast forward, I get married, and I have my first child, and that was kind of a disaster. I was preeclamptic, I was very sick at 29 weeks, blood pressure through the roof. I was on bed rest for 3 weeks and had an emergency C-section to a 2-pound, 14-ounce baby. Talk about an eye-opener, right? I kept asking myself, I remember asking myself, like, why can't you make a person? Everybody else makes a person. Why are you struggling to make a person? And it was my wake-up call to really take better care of myself at that point. So again, I'm dabbling, and fast forward, she's in kindergarten, my first child. She's in kindergarten. She did great, by the way, for being that little. Kindergarten, she started wetting her pants out of the blue for no reason. And so I take her to the doctor like any good mom would, right? Take her to the doctor, and they check her out. They do a urinalysis. It's negative. My medical mind says, what do you mean? She's clearly got a UTI, right? I just knew it because she was having urgency, she was having pain, and this wetting herself. And so, but they wouldn't treat it because it didn't show up on urinalysis. So a week or so later, she's still having problems. The doctor at that point had written her a letter for school for a teacher to let her go every 2 hours on a schedule. Well, that didn't help. She wanted to go every 10 minutes. And so the teacher was letting her go, but it was very disruptive to her learning, to everybody else's learning, because she's constantly raising her hand, right? So I take her back the second time, and they do another urinalysis. Again, it's negative. And now the doctor's like, well, perhaps you need to go see a specialist. So they send us out here to MSU Peds Urology. If you've ever been to a specialist, you know you don't get in right away, right? It takes a little bit for you to get in. So by the time we see the specialist, it's been a month. We can't go from the south side of town to the west side of town without her crying at me because she's got to go, even though I made her go before we left, right? It was a big, big problem for her and a big problem for the whole family, really. And so I take her to the specialist. Again, they do a urinalysis. Again, it's negative. They had to do a physical exam on her. She was 5. I had 5 minutes to prepare her for all of the looking and probing or whatever they were going to do, right? So that wasn't fun. And I left there with no answers. I left there with, it could be A, B, C, or D. Go home, come back in a month with this chart, fill this chart out. When she gets up, what time she poops, well, all this stuff I had to chart. And needless to say, I walked out of there and I did not make a return appointment. I knew they couldn't help me, and at the time, again, I'm dabbling, and I was watching these videos of this doctor who was a naturopath, chiropractor, and he did this weird thing called muscle testing, and it was fascinating to me. And so I was really watching a lot of his content, and I realized that he was within driving distance of me. And so I told my husband that day from the special office, I'm not bringing her back here, I'm gonna take her to this guy that does this muscle testing. And so I did, and he muscle tested her. He put her on like 3 whole food products, supplementation. He found that she did in fact have an immune challenge that was mostly bacterial in nature, and it was affecting her bladder. So he supported that. He supported her immune system, he supported her bladder, and 4 days later she's better. I picked her up from school the following Tuesday, and I asked her teacher, how's she doing? How's the bathroom habits? Oh, actually, now that you mention it, today was so much better. Like, great, fantastic. By the end of that next week, she was 100% back to my kid. Totally blew my mind, right? And that's when the mom light turned on in my head, right? Like, I've got to figure out how to do this weird thing called muscle testing. And so that's how I set on this journey to get the training and to completely change my profession. I went from what our group of people, our people would call the dark side, right? The medical model, to not using drugs or surgery. I went from delivering medications all the time, all day long for 12 hours, to never delivering another medication. That feels pretty good. So that's me. Tonight we're going to talk about clean beauty and why it's important. Because most of us have no idea what we're putting on our skin. We understand that we should eat clean foods and buy, organic when we can, or, buy regular food, real food, but we don't ever have a clue about what we're putting on our skin. And we, as women, myself included, I use a lot of products. And I want them to be safe. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about why and how we can, if you're interested in making your own stuff, great, I have some resources for you. We're going to try some products tonight if you're interested, and see how it goes, okay? Fair enough? Okay, 26 seconds. This is my daughter. This was years ago. When I was putting this together, and she was with me, and I told her, I said, did you know that it only takes 26 seconds for the chemicals in the products to get in your bloodstream once you put it on your skin? And that's what she did. And so I had her do it again. I'm like, wait a minute, I'll take your picture. So this was the second take, but that was her response, like 26 seconds? I'm like, yes, 26 seconds. That's why it's important for me to buy you cleaner products for your hair, and cleaner products to bathe with, and cleaner lotions, and cleaner this, right? And so 26 seconds, not a lot of time, right? Do we ever look at the back of a bottle when we're buying something? I mean, for instance, look at this. You ever look at the back of a bottle? First of all, this is actually pretty slim as far as ingredients go, but they make it so small you can't read it. You gotta get the spectacles out to read it, right? Or your camera on your phone and take a picture of it. I've done that before. But this is like all basically chemical. There's no oil in there, there's nothing, but a bunch of letters. PEG, polyethylene glycol, very toxic to the body. And in fact, a lot of us are very sensitive to PEG, and we don't realize it. We're allergic to it because it's in a lot of things, including a lot of vaccines. So we get very sensitive to PEG, okay? So here are some ingredients that you could be putting on your skin. Coal tar, again, a lot of the the abbreviations here. Oxalated surfactant. Surfactant is a soap. Ethyl oxalated. Not even sure what that means, to be honest. It's just messed with, right? Formaldehyde, fragrance, hydroquinone, parabens, phthalates. You guys have probably heard about phthalates, right? And parabens. But that's just scratching the surface, really, of what they put in the products. And the reason they get away with that is because that industry in this country, anyway, is very poorly regulated. They don't really test for stuff like they should. They don't eliminate stuff like they should. You really need to find a company that is ethical and doesn't allow things in their products like that, okay? There's a few more. Placental extract. That's used in a lot of higher end, like skincare. Triclosan, this is an antibiotic. Sodium lauryl sulfate, most people have heard of that. That's in a lot of products. Here is a, this is a graphic put together. You know those little girl makeup kits and lip balms that you can buy at the store for kids, or grandkids. This is kind of what these products are, and it shows you where they're from. Some you can buy from Target, Toys R Us, when it used to be Dollar General. But if you look at these chemicals, styrene is possibly carcinogenic. Those are just little stick-on nails. Who would think, right, that would be harmful? But you've got that high level of styrene in there. You've got toluene, I can't even say it, reproductive toxicity. A lot of these really are endocrine disruptors. Vinyl acetate is this is in polish, nail polish, really high, possible carcinogenic. And we're giving this to children, right? And they start really young. That way they start really young, and then as they get older, they can continue to apply. I don't know about you, but in my day, I always put Gilead on. Do you guys remember that? That was a fragrance, right? Gilead, right over here, right over my thyroid. And as I got older, I started developing symptoms of a underactive thyroid. Started gaining weight, having all the things, right? And so who knows? Could it have been because I was poisoning my thyroid directly with perfumes for a good majority of my younger years, right? Here's another one. Whole Foods has some good ranking, safer alternatives. Not all of them muscle test well, but I have tested some of them. I don't particularly care for the product, the main product they carry as far as makeup goes. I don't like the way it works, and it lasts not long enough for me, so I'm not really a fan, but it does muscle test well. And I think that's the mineral balance, I think. Mineral something. CVS did okay because they do have some products. They are transparent. Walgreens, see, as you go down the list, you've got the higher end Macy's that gets the worst rating. So the stuff you're paying a lot of money for, the Estee Lauders and all the things, they have no real transparency and very limited safe products, okay? Here's what you should avoid at the very least. This polyethylene glycol, I just talked about that. It's in a lot of things. As a byproduct, dioxin is something that we test for. It's a chemical that we test for in the office. But they're in baby care stuff and even sunscreens. PEG is, okay? Sunscreen is one of the most toxic things you can put on your skin. In fact, there's a lot of people who feel like skin cancers come from sunscreens, not the sun, and I would have to probably agree. Well, our sun is it's a nutrient. We need it. We have photoreceptors all over our skin, including our eyes, so we shouldn't even wear sunglasses in the sun. We don't have to. The sun is a nutrient. It creates processes in the body that we need to be healthy. It helps our mitochondrial function. Our mitochondria is a powerhouse of our cell. That's how we create energy. It's also outside the cell, it's an immune signaler, so it's supportive to the immune system. It also makes perfect water if it's working properly. And a lot of that comes from the sun, being in the sun. So obviously you're gonna be smart about your sun. You're not going to, stay in the sun all day without sunscreen, but you should at least get some sun on your skin to help those processes. triclosan, they were putting that, I'm not sure if they still are, but they were putting that in a lot of the hand soaps because it's an antibacterial, okay? But it's also a cancer-causing chemical. I find that deodorant is really hard for people to find a deodorant that they like that's a cleaner product. Have you guys ever tried to look for deodorants that are a little bit cleaner? At least you don't get the aluminum in there, right? The antiperspirant aluminum in there. So currently I use a couple different products. I'm using Schmidt's, which you can get at the health food store. I'm not sure if you can get that at Meijer or Kroger, but I'm using Schmidt's and or this next product that I'll show you here. You have to get it online. But a lot of the safer deodorants I find they don't work as well, or they'll stain your clothing, or you have to reapply it a lot because it's just not working the way you need it to. Okay, so it is a really hard product to find. But this one, Soapy Store, I like this product. A little bit goes a long way. It is expensive. It's probably going to cost you about $14 for one stick of deodorant. But like I said, a little bit does go a long way. And it works really well, in my opinion.
Native works pretty good too.
Native?
It's
Okay.
a little more
I've never
expensive,
tried that.
but
But
13, 14.
yeah, I think I have muscle tested natives, so I do believe that. I just don't know of anybody that told me that they liked it. Have you used it?
I do the spray. I like it. It's like $13.
Endocrine disruptors, I touched on this a little bit, but what is the endocrine system? It's the system of hormones. It's how you make your hormones. And so there are tons of chemicals in our environment, and especially in skincare products that disrupt your endocrine system. And some of them mimic estrogen and get on your receptor sites and screw with your own estrogen production. And so it's important to understand where these guys are and how to get them out of your life. Okay. We have a huge problem with infertility in this country, and the infertility rates are going up and up and up. Various reasons, but this could be one reason why, because people just don't know what they don't know about the products that they're putting on their skin. Right. One thing people don't understand as far as where the endocrine disruptors are. Here's some ideas about it. The plastics, the metal food cans. Some products, Eden Organic Foods has a label that their products are not, they're BPA free on the inside. They put BPA, bisphenol A, inside the cans, and that's an endocrine disruptor also. And the number one place we get BPA is with plastic bottles or our receipts from the gas station, from the stores. All that heat-treated paper is chemically treated with bisphenol A and probably other chemicals, and we're touching it, okay? And again, it's getting absorbed through our skin. Some people have asked me in the past, well, what about putting this on your skin? Like using certain foods for your skincare, and you can totally do that. Avocados are a delicious way to nourish your hair and skin and nails, but I'd rather eat them. That's just me. But you could totally use an avocado for that. Or you can put it on topically as a mask. Definitely you're wanting omega-3 fatty acids like in fish and walnuts. But eating and supplementing, because we can't eat enough. We don't eat enough healthy fat to begin with to make all of our hormones usually. And so putting it in supplement-wise and eating it in fish and things is ideal. Green tea is full of polyphenols, they're antioxidants, so you could drink, now green tea also has oxalates in it. Some of us are not really good with oxalates, and so you have to be aware of that. But if you do okay with oxalates, you could drink green tea and you get the antioxidant micronutrients. Pomegranates and tomatoes are high in antioxidants also, and pomegranates can be used topically as well. Anybody ever try to get into a pomegranate? It's not the easiest thing to open up. I had to literally watch a YouTube video just to try to figure it out, and it was a disaster. I had these little things all over, but my kids love pomegranates, so every once in a while I will get them a pomegranate. But they're not cheap. I'm not gonna put it on my skin, but you could. It's an option, right? You could. So here's some more nutritional ways you can get glowing skin. You need vitamin D3, preferably from the sun, but if not, you can supplement. Vitamin C is a high antioxidant also, and it helps collagen synthesis. Collagen is the number one, it's the most potent or important protein in the body. It's responsible for all of our structure. It's like, it holds us together. It's a glue that holds us together, okay? It's like our scaffolding. And vitamin C can reduce wrinkles, ladies, so we know we all want that, right? Vitamin E minimizes damage caused by UV rays and helps reduce inflammation. And vitamin K helps the body heal after surgery and can help with spider veins and stretch marks, okay? Any questions about that? Makeup's a little hard. Right now, specifically hard, okay? There's a company called Beauty Counter that I got involved with several years ago. Right now, they're not accessible though because they're going through a change. They're reorganizing and redeveloping all the things, and so thankfully I just bought some not too long ago, so I'm doing okay cosmetic wise. But where do we go from here until they get their stuff back together? So across the street at Ulta, there is a brand called Tarte that they're fairly clean, okay? Outside of that, I really don't know. And that's the bad thing. I really don't know. I'm gonna have to start really looking into it again because I've been using Beauty Counter successfully in practice and at home for many years. I've got a lot of patients that are using it. They're happy with it. So we just have to be patient with Beauty Counter, unfortunately. Poofy Organics, I've used their products. I'm not a total fan, but that's just me. I'm kind of picky. But they do muscle test well and they're clean, okay? So you can look them up, Poofy Organics. If you're a patient in our office, you get tested. I try to ask my patients after they work on their food to bring me their products. Because if we're working on thyroid and we're working on the adrenals and we're working on all the endocrine system, I want to know what they're putting on their skin also and how we can clean that up, okay? Because that's going to help overall with their health. Collagen, again, it's the most abundant protein in the body. It's our building blocks. We use it to make our bones, our muscles, our skin, our hair, our nails, all the things, okay? And so we have powdered collagens here in the office, and we've been using them for years, and they're great. They muscle test well, but it turns out we only absorb about 30% of powdered because of the molecule size. So in the last year, I've been using a liquid collagen, and I brought some for you guys to try tonight so that you can experience it because it's really yummy. But the reason this is so special and why we're getting therapeutic results with this collagen is because it is a low molecular weight, meaning the molecule size is lower, or smaller rather, okay? And it's liquid, and so we're uptaking 90% of this product, where the powders, you'd have to drink 3 times that much to get enough, you know, to critically make a change. The goal therapeutically for collagen, at least in clinical practice, is to create change. Change in the gut healing, change in the joint, how the joints are feeling. I've had women with, that are older, past menopause, that have problems vaginally, experience improvement because that's skin down there and it gets thinner as you get older, right? But it's not supposed to. I don't think it's supposed to get thinner. It just does because we're missing collagen. And the reason we're missing so much collagen is A, we don't make enough as we get older. We make less and less every year after we're 20. And B, we're getting exposed to way too much glyphosate in our environment, okay? Glyphosate is found in Roundup, which is the pesticide or whatever herbicide they shove on spray on all your crops, especially your grains. And glyphosate is carcinogenic. But it also destroys our collagen. It's making us break down quicker, so we need to know that. We are literally in a war for our collagen. And young kids are now, that are athletes, they're tearing their ACL really easily. It doesn't even really have to be a serious injury or, or serious contact kind of thing for them to tear. So it's a big deal. We need to be aware of where glyphosate is. And avoid it at all costs because it's everywhere. We need to use good supplements to bind those toxins and get them out of the body, and we need to replace our collagen, okay? So I think we'll do that right now, because I've got it right here. Anybody have any questions about collagen? No?
Where else do you get it besides?
You can get it from animal protein, bone broth that you can make yourself. You wanna try?
Sure.
Okay.
Is there different flavors?
Yes, there's different formulas. This happens to be the skin formula. This is one of my favorites. And it has been reformulated, but it tastes the same, the new formula. The new formula is called hair, skin, and nails. So that's cool. Wanna try it?
Sure.
And how much should you have a day?
This is 2 tablespoons a day, 1 tablespoon in the morning, 1 tablespoon in the afternoon. Because collagen works, it has a 12-hour half-life, so that way it's gonna work for you around the clock. How about you?
Yeah, I'll try some.
Okay. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Super good. So this I find is a big deal. All of our organs are coated in collagen. They have a collagen sheath. All of my patients that already have osteopenia and or osteoporosis, I put them on the collagen because I want them to not fall and break a hip, right? It's good to put calcium in the bone. It's good to think about minerals, but you also got to think about collagen. And because 1/3 of your bone is made from collagen, okay? Therapeutically, we've seen hair growing back, and myself included. After I had all that thyroid dysfunction, I lost a lot of my eyebrows and my hair, as a matter of fact. And you make 2 people, so that doesn't help, right? Takes a lot to make people. And so over the past 1.5 years, I started, about 3 months in, I started noticing my eyebrows were growing back in. They're not perfect yet, but they're way better than they were. I can sometimes kind of fill them in nicer now, and before they were like these short, stubby little straight things. And I'm like, what is this, right? So it's a big deal to me. It's a big deal. Plus, you know, our goal as we get older is to remain independent, right? And if we fall and break something, then we're no longer independent. And as we get older, medically speaking, if elderly people fall, they are more at chance for pneumonia and or death, right? They can get really sick after just from lack of movement, from the pain, having to tolerate that with medications, and it just seems like they go downhill after that. So my goal for my body is to stay strong so that I'm independent as I get older and get to that age where if I do fall, I'm good, right? Like I want to be good if I fall. So collagen is going to always be part of that equation for me. All right. Hair is also tricky. Deodorant's tricky. Hair is tricky because you want it to work, but you want it to be clean, and not a lot of people make clean stuff that works. You could do something natural like baking soda and apple cider vinegar. What people have done is they take a tablespoon or 2, depending on how much hair you have. If you don't have much like me, you just a tablespoon in a ball jar into the shower, and then you've got vinegar, a couple tablespoons of vinegar in the shower. So you just put water, you dilute the baking soda, and then you just dump it on your head and scrub it around. That's washing it. And then same thing with the vinegar. You dilute it with the water over your head, and that's to condition it. I tried it before. It seems to work. Not my favorite thing to do, but you could do that. And it would be super cheap, right? Or Beauty Counter, which is again not accessible right now, but they do have hair care products that work really well, I think. Okay. Outside of that, there is a product company called Inner Sense that I'm using currently. You can get it locally from one person who has a salon in East Lansing, or you can get it online. But that's a professional line that's clean, and that works really well. Okay. So, where do you start? If you got a smartphone, you go to your app store and you download the Think Dirty app. Okay, there's a couple other ones now. One's called, I think, Yucca, I believe. Think Dirty was one of the first ones I started using, and so I like their database. I think it's bigger. And so I like that, so you just scan the product. You're standing in Target or you're standing wherever, and you scan the product and it'll tell you how it will negatively affect you. For your reproductive system, is it carcinogenic, what is it, how big is its toxic load, and you'll know whether you wanna keep that or, buy that product or not. Yeah, okay, big dirty. If there's any of you who like to make stuff on your own, I used to work with a wonderful woman named Cindy at the hospital, and she would make her own stuff, and so she shared with me these recipes years ago. So you can buy a lot of this stuff locally, or you can get it online, obviously, but you've got avocado oil, some raw honey, castile soap, super easy, put it in a pump dispenser and use that. So, or you can add some essential oil to it, like rose oil. That would be nice too. Okay. Healing hand soap. I do this most of the time. I use the tea tree liquid castile soap. I don't scent it because it's tea tree. It's hard to scent. But I use just water in a foaming, like distilled water, and a third of it is the liquid castile soap. Super easy. I don't even mess with the rest of it, but you could, because frankincense good for your oil. Oil is good for your skin. Lavender and olive oil, all good for your skin. But I use the distilled water because I don't want to create bugs in the bottle, right? But it's the foaming. It'll make a good foaming soap for you. Super easy. Here's some hand cream, and if you guys after the fact, if you don't have anything or you're not interested, if you want these recipes after the fact, just get a hold of me and I'll get them to you, okay? Hand cream, this has shea butter and cocoa butter, aloe vera juice, so very healing. And you can add whatever essential oil you want to that. You could even add castor oil to that, I would think. That would be good for your skin. Anti-aging serum, hello, thank you, I'll take this, right? Rosehip oil is super good for anti-aging. And again, I would add some castor oil in there. Frankincense, great for anti-aging stuff.
You better subscribe or get your essential oils, basically.
You can.
How well do those test? Which brands are testing well?
Yes, Young Living does test well, doTERRA does test well.
What about their shampoos and their dish soap?
I haven't tested any of that stuff. I do know that Young Living should have just stuck with essential oils because their other products are not, even their makeup does not test well. It's not, I don't know, it's just not clean enough for me. So they just should stick to essential oils, yeah.
What about Norwex? Have you heard of Norwex?
I have.